Good afternoon. I am a little bit later this morning. I don't know, it's been kind of an odd morning for me. I was up really late last night, and when I woke up this morning, I just felt really, I don't know, I guess a good word would be restless. I felt really restless, and I was trying to just figure out why I felt so restless and just really sit in that. And the Lord started speaking to me, and where he took me, it was kind of funny because I'm like, I don't want to go there. God, I know that verse. I've been there a bazillion times, but I went there obviously anyway because that's where he wanted to go. And it was just so interesting to me because you can go to a verse that you've read a bazillion times and he can give you even more understanding of it, really. And that's kind of what happened to me this morning. So I just wanted to share a little bit about what he showed me. So good morning. Thanks for joining me. I'm just feeling a little weird today. I don't know what's going on, but it's okay. I'm going to sit in that with the Trinity and have grace for where I'm at for today. And I just really wanted to share what I had heard. And so I'm going to do that. But, so I was just talking to the Lord, and I was just saying, what's going on? Like, what's going on with me today? Why am I feeling so restless? And he started talking to me about realizing our origin and realizing who we really are. And we've probably all heard that before, where, we were created by him, by the Creator. We were created in his image. Before we were ever placed in our mother's wombs, we were created. And that we weren't created of flesh, but we were created of the Father. And I was thinking about that. And I was thinking about how one thing that we were taught a while ago at a conference that we had went to, and it's been a long, long time ago, but that God predestined who he would save and who he wouldn't save. Have you guys heard that before? Have you heard that saying? He predestined. Basically, he chose who he was going to save and who he wasn't. And I started thinking about that with my own kids. And would I, before I was born and before I even met them, would I say, geez, I'm going to make sure that Brenna is saved, but Isaiah isn't. And I'm going to decide that before they were born. I would never do that. What kind of a parent would do that? That is horrible. And so I was just saying, God, man, I never thought about that. I never thought about that in a sense of where I'm at now. And he said, yes, absolutely. He said, we were his idea. We were his creation. And he said, you know what, Julie, I would never create a child just to cast that child away. That's just idiotic is really the word that's coming to my mind, and ridiculous. But people believe that. I believe that. I believed that he was going to create some people specifically just to cast them away. And he just was showing me, we've always been his. And when we believe that, then it's confirmed in our spirit. It doesn't mean that just because we didn't believe it, it wasn't true. We were always his. He created every single person on this planet in his image. Every single person. And some of us have a hard time with that because we can think of people that we don't like very much and think, well, surely they're not created in his image. But you know what? They are. They are. Even the man that raped me is created in the image of God. There is good and light in him. He's not acting on that. He's not seeing that. He's not walking in that right now. Well, maybe he is now. This was a long time ago. But he's still God's creation. He was still thought up. Now, does his behavior of what he did make him no longer made in the image of God? No. It doesn't. Just because we're acting not like ourselves doesn't mean that we're not who God always created us to be. Sometimes we don't know that yet, or sometimes we've forgotten that. A lot of times with my kids, when they make a bad decision, one of the worst things that you can say is, what is wrong with you? Do you know what I mean? And we used to say that to our kids a lot. But to say, what is wrong with you? There is nothing wrong with my kids. What happened when they made a bad, made a bad choice? They made a bad choice because they forgot who they really were. So now, what do I say when they make a bad choice? Like my son the other day when he lied to me. I'm like, dude, that's not you. Like, what's happening? Because I know that's not you and that's not who you are. So tell me what's really going on. Tell me what's really in your heart that's causing you. What are you believing that's causing this behavior of lying? And so many times we want to correct the behavior, right? I want to correct his lying. So I'm going to ground him because he lied, right? Instead of finding out why he was lying in the first place. And you know why he was lying? Because he was afraid he was going to get into trouble. Okay? There was fear. That's basically what it was. So how many times do we go before God in fear, pretending that everything's okay instead of just being honest? I've done it. I've done it around other people. How many times when you walked into a church building or a building where church was held and someone said, how are you doing? And you had the worst week ever. Like there could have been everything wrong. And you were like, I am blessed and highly favored. And you're thinking, oh my gosh, I just want to die. If she would have saw my car on the way here in the morning with all the kids arguing and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So I totally lost where I was at, Lord. Okay, so he was just, and this is totally not what I was going to talk about. This is not what I was going to talk about, which is hilarious, but we're going with him. We get so wrapped up with the behaviors. And one thing that the Lord is showing me, I'm just putting my book aside because I'm realizing we're not talking about that today, is that he is less concerned about these behaviors that we all seem to be so focused on than he is about where these behaviors are coming from, right? Because usually they're coming out of a place of fear and unbelief. And he wants to get to the root of the issue, which would be the fear and the unbelief. And when we get to the root of the issue, when we get to what truly is causing the behavior to, bloom or come forth, only then is it going to be corrected, right? So if we think of our belief as the root and the behavior as the fruit, if I try to, going back to my son, if I try to correct the behavior, I'm picking the fruit. Every time he lies, picking. Guess what? The root is still going to be there. For those of you gardeners, you can pick the top out, but if you don't get the root system out, that stupid thing is going to keep coming back. That's why God is not concerned about the fruit. He's concerned about the root, whatever. See, we say root. You might say root. Sorry. I'm from Michigan. Root. And the point is, he is pulling the root or the root out. As Christianity, we keep trying to pick off the bad fruit. And so I was just talking to someone about this today, about, we're so focused on what people say is sin as far as behavior. Is my son's sin the fact that he lied? Or is my son's sin his fear and unbelief in his parent? I would say that my son's sin is the fear and unbelief in his parent, because he was afraid he was going to get into trouble. And I know in my own life, there are areas where there are fear and unbelief that the Lord is convincing me in, which people would not look at that and say, oh, that's sin. But it is. That's where the sin is. The sin is not in the fruit or the behavior. The sin is in the root or the belief. And so the Lord just wanted me to encourage you because he is working on that root. And so, some of you are so frustrated, like so frustrated and angry that you have this fruit still in your life that's just stinky fruit. You don't want it anymore. And you keep trying to pick the stinky fruit with your own effort. And he's saying it's not about the stinky fruit, Julie. It's about where that fruit is coming from. And when we take care of where the fruit is coming from, the stinky fruit's going to go away. And it does. It does. And I've seen it in my own life. I have. I've seen the stinky fruit go away. And it's only when I allowed myself to be open to him showing me the truth of who he is and the truth of who I am. And there are things that he's speaking into me and saying about me that I don't believe yet. And does that mean that because I don't believe yet what he's telling me, they are not true? No. I can go tell my son right now, you are not a liar. That is not who you are. That is not who God created you to be. He can believe me or not, and his behavior may or may not line up with what I'm saying, but that is the truth of who he is and who God created him to be. And whether or not his behavior lines up with that yet is whether or not he's able to believe that that's the truth about him. And so I just pray that whatever God is trying to convince you of today, that you would just give yourself grace in that moment and know that it is his job to bring that to fruition. It is his job to persuade you and convince you. And all you have to be is be open. Be open to hearing what he has to say. Be open to him persuading you. And what that looks like, if you need an example, like sometimes people are like, well, what does that look like? Okay, so I'm sitting here, I'm like, God, what do you want to talk to me today? What do you want to show me? What's something about myself that I'm not seeing fully in your truth? Okay. And so for example, he was showing me the other day that I believed that I was undesirable. Okay. And so I said, all right, well, what do you say about that? He said, you are desirable. He said, your outward appearance does not dictate your desirability. Okay. And so I could be like, okay, you know what? I don't really believe that yet, Lord, but I'm open to you persuading me that that is really your truth. And that positioning of heart is really all it takes. And you know what? He continues to persuade me of that. Now that was when I actually was able to believe. Praise God for that. And really that was in his goodness that I was able to receive that. But there's others. That's the first one I can think of. But it's just allowing yourself to acknowledge the possibility that he may know you better than you know yourself. And that this creator of you, this creator of the universe that brought you into being, may know you and how he created you and who he created you to be a little bit better than yourself. Because I could have said, you know what, Lord, I don't believe that. I do not believe that's true. I know me better than you know me, and so I'm not receiving that. But I didn't. I said, okay, it's possible that you may be correct because you did create me. So you know what? I'm going to go with you and I'm going to ask you to help me believe that. And you know what? He does, because he's a good father. So Lord, I just thank you for each and every person that would watch this today. I thank you for their sweet hearts. I thank you that they long to be seen and known and feel valued and loved and worthy. And you know what, Lord? You are the one that created us that way. You are the one that created us to long to be known and seen by you. And so there's a big garbage truck going by. I just pray that you would just, yeah, that's right, garbage, get on out of here. It's going. Lord, I just pray that you would continue to persuade each of these precious people about who they are and how much you love them and how beautiful they are, and that you would give them your perception, your clear view of who you created them to be, that they could see each and every unique characteristic of yourself that you placed in them, and that they would get to the point of allowing you to persuade them that that is the truth of who they are, even when they don't believe it. Because like I said, even if you don't believe it, doesn't mean it's not true about you. So have a great day. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your life. Enjoy your life.